Resistance Revival Chorus believes in the words written by the poet Toy Derricott when she wrote, "Joy is an act of resistance." We believe in the words of Mr. Harry Belafonte, who said, "When the movement is strong, the music is strong." We sing to revive the hearts of those who fight for social justice, and we sing together for freedom.
Good morning. You didn't move a lot. I thought you'd be up and too hot. I am Reverend Elaine Beth Paraslua. I am the interim minister of the First Parish in Portland, which is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, where our mission is to nurture the spirit, grow in community, and help heal the world. And today's service is about one way to do that. So I hope that you will take something meaningful away from the service. If you are visiting for the first time today, welcome. We hope that you will come back again. Every Sunday is a little bit different. You can speak to me after the service if you would like more information about the congregation, the principles of Unitarian Universalist, or you could probably speak to anyone that is here for a little bit more information. Each week we find it very important to acknowledge that the land that this building is upon, the whole city of Portland is upon, was the home to many people long before Europeans arrived. It was the site of human activity, faith, industry, building, and community. The members of the Wabanaki Confederacy, which are the Penobscot, the Passamaquoddy, the Maliseet, the Micmac people, lived here, served here, and were driven away from here. They still remain in areas of Maine and New England, and they remind us that they are resistant to all that happened to them, and we remember that it is our role to do more than acknowledge this, but to rebuild those relationships of trust and to repair the damages that were done and continue to be done. So, that is our land acknowledgement, and we will build more acknowledgements into our history and our story through this coming year. We also want to appreciate every Sunday that we welcome children and families to this space, and that our nods, our smiles, our acknowledgement, our learning the children's names is how we prepare this congregation for a very vibrant future, because children and families are the future of this congregation. I have 3 announcements. One is that there's a worship meeting following the service, and if you would like to participate in worship, planning, or in any capacity, please come upstairs to I think it's called the youth room at the top of the stairs. I will feed you lunch, and we will have a retreat about thinking about future worship services and a future worship committee. Also, the piece of paper, there's cake on the table right now. What happened to the chalice circle paper? Lynn will find it. Lynn will find it. We want you to sign up if you're interested in a chalice circle, which is a spiritual small group that looks at a theme every month and talks about it, or an affinity group, which means that you're interested in something particular, whether it's paganism or history or hiking outdoors or something. Please write those down too, because we'd like to offer social opportunities for small groups as well, and other explorations. So if there's a particular thing you want to explore in a small group, put your name and contact info on that sheet of paper. We'll be organizing those in the fall. And then I have a special announcement. Benjamin, would you rise? Jonathan, would you rise? After a very long and thoughtful, thorough search, we have discovered our leading musicians for this congregation going forward. Benjamin I just completely forgot your last name, but it's Holbrook. I was going to say Chatfield. So Benjamin Holbrook and Jonathan Chatfield are going to be with us as musicians. Benjamin will be working and directing the choir. Jonathan is our keyboard artist in residence. He'll be playing the organ and the piano and whatever other instruments we can provide for him on the alternate Sundays that the choir is singing. So I hope you'll enjoy cake provided by Ms. Beasley, and we will celebrate their joining our community and the wonderful gifts of music they will bring to us. We're so glad you're here. Now I invite you to use your ears and your hearts to open to our other musicians, Una Voce and Servant Song.
Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as love to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. We are pilgrims on a journey. We are travelers on the road. We are here to help each other walk the mile and bear the load. I will hold the light for you in the night time of your fear. I will hold my hand out to you, speak the peace you long to hear. I will weep when you are weeping, when you laugh, I'll laugh with you. I will share your joy and sorrow till we see this journey through. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as love to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too.
Thank you. As a minister, I think a lot about what people come to church for. Why church? Maine, summer, beautiful day. Why would you come and sit here for an hour or more? What is it that inspires that commitment, that presence? In a UU church, we are not going to answer those big burning questions for you. We aren't going to provide a path of faith with doctrines that will take you down a narrow road. What we do provide is just what that song suggests: companionship on the journey. Perhaps the right questions will get asked, if not answered. I love these words that Barbara Kingsolver wrote many, many years ago, and I begin today's worship with her words because this is why I think we, UUs and First Parish, come to church. What keeps us going is not some fine destination, but just the road we're on and the fact that we know how to drive. We keep our eyes open. We see this damned to hell world we got born into, and we ask ourselves, what life can I live that will let me breathe in and out, love somebody or something, and not run off screaming into the woods? What to believe exactly may never turn out to be half as important as the daring act to try to believe. A willingness to participate in sunlight and the color red, and an agreement to enter into a conspiracy with life on behalf of both frog and snake, predator and prey, in order to possibly come away changed. I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." It's number 16 in your hymnals.
Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley, love and delight. When true simplicity is there, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. Will be held in night, and when turning we come round.
Now I invite you to join together in the unison chalice lighting that is printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is our prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. I just love that that's exactly what the song said. I just love it when that happens. So, this is the time in our service where I invite you to take a reflective moment, whatever that means to you. And one of the ways to do that is to use a mudra. In yoga, there are many different mudras, whether they're the way you hold your hands or the way you sit, the way you breathe. And the whole idea of a mudra is that it connects you to your mind and spirit in a way that any intentional motion can do. So today I'm going to invite you into a very basic mudra. It's the Namaste mudra. And what I want you to do is to lift your shoulders up and roll them back. Let them go down so that you're expanding your chest for your breath. We're going to make space for that universal energy which flows in and around our bodies, connects us to that interconnected web of all existence. Then plant your feet firmly on whatever surface they are sitting on, so that you can almost feel the connection through your shoes. Allow your buttocks to descend into the seat so that you feel balanced on your seat, grounded in your chest, your buttocks, your feet. Then, open your hands, palms up, and lay them gently on your thighs. And as you inhale, slowly close your eyes from top to bottom. And with your next inhalation, lower your head so that your eyes are gazing at the seat of your heart. Then lift your hands into Namaste so that your fingers are balanced against each other. The pressure upon your palms and your fingers is equal, and your thumbs align with your sternum. If you notice, that means your closed eyes, your hands are all connected to your heart. And breathe. Allow your breath and your mind and your heart explore your reason for being here. Your commitment to enter into a conspiracy with life. Are you here to give, to receive, to be affirmed, or to be transformed? Perhaps all of those. When at the beginning of the service, we allow our minds to be still, our hearts to be open, then we are ready for what comes next. To give or to receive. To be affirmed or transformed. May we each hear what we need to hear. See what we need to see. That we may come away changed. We are pilgrims on a journey together. So may it be. Amen, and blessed be. Release your hands to your thighs. Slowly raise your head and open your eyes. Namaste. Now I invite you to stay seated, and we'll sing 123, Spirit of Life. You do not have to be good. You do not have to fall on your knees and crawl for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, announcing over and over your place in the family of things. I first heard that poem probably 1989 or 90, and I was getting ready for seminary, and I was deeply into feminist theology and cakes for the Queen of Heaven, and I had my altar, and I felt so free. I finally felt like I was given permission to, let go of all the shoulds, not follow all the rules, not do what everyone else expected of me. I felt cleansed. It didn't last very long. Around that time, my mother was 86, 87, and there was this man, Bill, who had been her neighbor for years and years and years, and Bill's wife had died, and Bill and my mom kind of started a thing. And every once in a while, she would kind of get this longing gaze in her face, and she'd go, "Bill, he's such a good man. He always brings the grocery cart back." Really, that was the bar? Would that it were so easy. There was also a little glint in her eye that I knew was more than the carriage. Do we have to be good? Do we? Yeah, see, you're not so sure either. Well, if we do have to be good, who decides what good is? Is it just about, I'll tell you, I've brought the grocery carriage back every single time since then, hoping that maybe that's all it takes. And that and the dog poop, I've got it covered. These days, every single day seems to bring some new challenge, some personal or global crisis that we have to integrate into our being and say, is that good, is that bad, is it right, is it wrong? Then there are all sorts of upheavals, acts of violence, unexpected negativity to navigate. Is it even authentic right now to feel joy? I mean, look at what's happening in the world. And does that mean that we have to just walk around repenting and doing what we have to do next to save the world? And it's very challenging. Life is hard. Always has been. And the capacity to be good, to do good, to create balance, to have joy and happiness, they're not inherent to our genetic makeup. Actually, there's a lot of things that are just the opposite. Remember the sermon on Homo sapiens and the othering and the gossiping, and that's what we're genetically programmed for. So being good and having joy are learned behaviors. We have to figure out how to do them both. Now, there's vulnerabilities in chemistry. Some of us are predisposed to being depressed, whether it's seasonal affective disorder or some other chemical imbalance. And then just the opposite. Some of us are predisposed to be really happy and, perky. My son-in-law looked at me once when I told him I was depressed, and he said, "This is you depressed? What are you like when you're happy?" So, balancing those different emotional states, learning what they mean to us, is the journey. It's the path that we're all on. And most of the world's religions have tried to give us a path about as narrow as this aisle about what it means to be good, right? And most of them discourage plain and simple fun, from dancing to singing. Then, there was the disciples who got really mad at Jesus for putting oil on his body after a long month of work. And then there's these hedonistic judgments, like anything you do that's pleasuring is bad. And that's part of Christianity, it's part of the God of Abraham, and it's even in Buddhism, kind of couched in that attachment thing, like we're attached to something, and that's the root of all suffering. And if you're not careful, you can make that attachment mean anything that's fun. So, I think the Hindus are the only ones who got it right. And then their scriptures, their sacred scriptures, are point-by-point instructions on self-pleasuring. Right? That's why I practice yoga. So, I do not believe that it was the intention of the God of Abraham, or Jesus, or Mohammed, or Buddha, to shackle our life's experience to working and suffering. That was actually, I think, the work of the humans who followed them, who were trying to control society and keep society from going down whatever horrid path they thought we were going. That did not work real well, did it? No. So, thousands of years before the God of Abraham and Jesus and Mohammed and around, I'm not quite sure about Buddha's timing, but around that, in Europe and in the Eastern Europe, there was pagans. And you heard some of that last week, but I wanted to read you this, because this is really what it's all about. This is what the original earth-based spirituality professed. I, who am a beauty of the green earth and the white moon among the stars and the mystery of the waters, I call upon your soul to arise and come to me. For I am the soul of nature that gave life to the universe. From me all things proceed, and unto me they must return. Let my worship be in the heart that rejoices. For behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals. Let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor, humility, mirth, and reverence within you. And you who seek to know me, know that your seeking and yearning will avail you not unless you know the mystery. For if that which you seek you cannot find within yourself, you will never find it without. For behold, I have been with you from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire. Starhawk wrote that, but it's a foundational piece to almost all earth-based religions. And right now I'm reading Sacred Instructions, and I can't remember the Penobscot woman who was, say it again? Hillary Mitchell? Sharon Mitchell, yes. I'm reading her book, and that's exactly what she's promoting in her Sacred Instructions. It's that return to that oneness with the earth, with each other, to eliminate othering of all kinds. In 1994, I participated in a Pastors for Peace caravan that was delivering material aid to Central America. And I was one person who drove one of 21 different big, huge boxcar trucks down that dirt road through Central America. And all along the way, there was a lot of danger. And we were, every night, we had to check our trucks and lock them up, and then we were escorted to wherever we were gonna sleep by armed guards. There was theft and crime and violence, and after dark, you were not safe. And there were people everywhere, desperate for food, desperate for money, desperate for an escape, and they were trying whatever means possible to make their lives livable. So, and each night, in pairs, we're escorted two abreast in a tight line formation with armed guards. There was one night we were on the border of El Salvador, and we were instructed, we were put into this rather sweet little compound that was walled all around the outside, and in the center there was a lovely tiled courtyard, and we were instructed, as always, do not leave the compound for any reason after dark. Well, what happened just before I was ready to crawl onto my little blanket on the floor was 4 men who brought out tortillas and a mariachi band, and they started playing and dancing, eating and drinking, and there was lots of liquor and all this noise, and everybody was up until almost dawn, just dancing and having a great time. And I just felt so fortified. Tired? Not sure I was going to drive that truck real well. But there was just this wonder at having left some of the fear and the dinginess of the environment in which we were in, and the strength of our commitment to what we were doing, just leaving it behind for a few hours. And I was so grateful to those jovial characters. I didn't know who they were or where they came from, but what a gift they were to us. I was excited. At the morning's meeting, every morning we met to discuss where we were going, the rules, the efforts, the things we had to be cautious for, and each time we'd probably leave one truck of belongings in a village, and who would be leading that conversation but those 4 men that were dancing the night before? Tito, Guillermo, Antonio, and Julio. They were all members of the resistance in El Salvador. They were going to guide us through all the official things that we had to do to distribute the goods in the trucks safely and get them to the people they needed to get to and not be stolen. Tito was a Baptist minister, and he had lived in the hills of El Salvador for over 10 years, ministering to the campesinos. His brother, Julio, now only 16, had been carrying a gun and fighting for the resistance since he was 10. Guillermo also lived in the hills. He was a fighting person with the FMLN. And Antonio was a Mexican doctor who had joined these men to provide medical care to all the campesinos and to those who were injured during the fighting. These lighthearted, jovial personalities that I had so engaged with the night before were serious, committed resistance fighters. And what they had learned and what they taught us the night before, there is no freedom, there is no strength in resistance without joy, without dancing, without remembering to give your body sustenance, whatever kind it needs. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. This faith, this pride, that's what I saw in each one of them. In that jovial festivity the night before was that balancing that defines goodness and joy. These men knew how to maintain their hearts and their souls to experience pleasure in the moment without it diminishing. In fact, it strengthened their commitment and their resolve, no matter how long that journey to freedom was. Dottie Jahnke is a social justice writer, and she writes that the feeling great that we experience sometime when we're happy, if it's authentic, it's the result of putting our life in order. So it's finding that balance. It's more than just having a good time, and it's not about just being disciplined. It's about both. Happiness is the result of bringing that inner world, your sense of identity and purpose and who you are, into harmony with the outer world, what the world's greatest need is. You're not trying to escape the world. You're not trying to just engage in the challenges of the world. It's that balance of both. And I think that's why we come to church, because none of us does that automatically. It's learned behavior. To authentically feel good, and I mean that good as you are being good, you have to know who you are. You have to be honest about who you are. Be self-aware. So by doing that inner work, to authentically know what's important to you, not listening to the world telling you what's important or what you should be doing or how you should do it, but listening to this. Balancing it with this. Observing the world around you, the scriptures of many traditions, people throughout history that have walked this path and done this journey before. To feel good, we must be honest. We must be authentic. We must do the inner work to know who we are and engage that with the world around us. The deeper our self-awareness of what's important to us and the source of our joy, the source of our longings, the source of our frustrations with the world, only then can we engage in a way without judgments, without blame. Somebody asked me if I would do a sermon about respecting the dignity and worth of every human being, which is really hard right now. This is a piece of it. Because when you are authentic, you can look at every other human being and see their authenticity, regardless of what it is, and say, and when they are unable to see truth or reality, rather than having a judgment about it, you can have empathy and say, there, but by the grace of God go I. Because each one of us is vulnerable to those myths, to gossip, to othering. And only with good self-care and awareness can we not fall victim to those Homo sapien genetic programmings. Dottie also claims that freedom begins with me. So that self-awareness and that search for authenticity is what frees us. There's a whole other piece of freedom. And if you have not heard of Adrienne Marie Brown and her sister Autumn, they do a podcast called How to Survive the End of the World. Do not miss it. I will say that again. How to Survive the End of the World. And every week they give they call it the fume, and sometimes they have a flume of anger, what they're really angry about, a flume of joy, a flume of appreciation. They go through just so many wondrous witnessing to the world around us. And one of the things that they celebrated recently was there's a festival that happens every year, and it's Troy, I'm going to forget his last name, Troy. And he does this revival on Juneteenth, and it's a celebration and a juxtaposition of Pride Month and African American history. So he invited Adrienne Marie Brown to give the sermon for that revival this year. Well, you got to listen to it. It's a podcast and it's online, and she starts the whole thing with all the things she loves. And she's very hedonistic, and some of them you'll agree with and some of them you won't, but she goes through all her list, right? And then she said, I'm free because I've given myself permission to love all the things that I love. And her God is change. So she believes that change in the world is the source of the divine, and that through her authenticity, through her freedom, through her treating herself well, she is free and she is changing the world. So, with her sister Autumn, she promotes this God of change and this freedom. And one of the things she calls out in the Resistance sermon is the fact that it is an illusion to think that there is any separateness. Very much like Starhawk's poem, the mystery is that we are one. We are one with each other, with the earth, with the entire interconnected web of all existence. It's one of our principles, but do you feel that in your bones? Do you feel that in your heart when you walk outside and look at a tree? Sharon does in that Sacred Instructions. She tells us about that experience of magic, of the mystery, when you actually feel your oneness with all of existence. It's not to be missed. If you can find that, it is precious. So she talks about the fact that heterosexism, homophobia, any projection of other on another human being, blackness, Native American, whoever or whatever we other, the earth, oil, whatever. When we do that, we are setting the other in a cage, but we're also locking ourselves into a cage. And not one of us can be free until all of us are free. And all of our isms, sexism, heterosexism, racism, all of them, they lock us in our cages. And the truth, we are one. We are one interconnected story, one interconnected being, one interconnected freedom. And until we can bring all of that oneness together with awareness and appreciation, no one can be free. We have to let go of all those ancient definitions of goodness and evil and reconnect all of those parts of the interconnected web of all existence so that all beings are free from harm, free from subjugation, free from manipulation, free from oppression, scarcity, guilt, and shame. This pride that I have, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. This faith that I have, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again, just like each one of us is trying to find our way home. Listen, they call to you, harsh and exciting, over and over and over, announcing your place in this family of things. Listen. Listen for your name. So may it be. Take a deep breath. Let all those words settle upon you. Then rise, and we will sing number 1. May nothing evil cross this door. I think that song is the mission of all churches and all faiths. Now I invite your generous contributions, financial at this moment. All your gifts of time, treasure, talent are so essential to a thriving congregation. And money is part of your treasure and your commitment. So give generously that we may all thrive. Thank you. Now, before I share the closing words from Wendell Berry's book, Sabbaths, I remind you to join for cake, to meet Benjamin and Jonathan, to ask them both about their stories and how they found their way to us, and sign up on the Chalice Circle list for your affinity group or Chalice Circle. And if you are interested in participating in worship, come upstairs at 11:30 and I will give you more of a substantial lunch than cake. To care for what we know requires care for what we don't know. The world's lives darken the soil, dark in the dark. Forbearance is the first care to what we need to give and to know. We live by lives we don't intend, lives that exceed our thoughts and needs, outlast our designs, staying well past through survival. That risky passage from ice to warmth, dark to light. Rightness of scale is our second care. The willingness to think and work within the limits of our competence, to do no permanent damage to anything that is permanently worthwhile to this earth. Known or unknown, now or ever, never destroying by knowledge unknowingly what we do not know. The world in its mystery, the known and the unknown, will live and thrive only when we live and thrive. I can't wait. Please join in the unison benediction and the extinguishing of our chalice before we get to enjoy our postlude. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Dina, Bob, and Brenda.
Someday we'll roll away the stone that we have carried for so long. All our burdens will be gone, and I can't wait. We will find our way to an understanding of all views. No prayer shall be refused, and I can't wait. Seems we have gone too far, and now we don't know where we are. I believe we'll find a guiding star, and I can't wait. If faith is the final place where all our fears have been erased, and the locks have fallen from the gates, and I can't wait. Someday we'll roll away the stone that we have carried for so long. All our burdens will be gone, and I can't wait. We will find our way to an understanding of all views. No prayer shall be refused. I can't wait.
Thank you. Cake.